Good morning, everybody. Happy Hump Day to you on this June 4th, 2025. I have all of your stories for your rush hour ride to work. And on today's episode, we'll be discussing AMC giving us new reasons to not go to the movie theaters. I'll explain that. And Love Island has its new season, I believe 7 premiere. And we'll discuss some controversy going on with one of the contestants. And Taylor Swift ghosts Blake Lively. So we've got this story by Daily Mail, what an insider has to say, along with a new amicus brief filed in the Justin Baldoni versus Blake Lively lawsuit. More, I guess, corporate interest defending Blake Lively's side. Could it be? We'll get into that. And then Elon Musk, no longer, I guess, bending the knee to Donald Trump, explains his new big, beautiful bill or whatever it's called and why it's bad for the budget deficit. So it could be changing tides for old Elon. And then we're going to share more about this Ukrainian drone attack, as they've committed another attack on Russian soil of a bridge. Pretty wild stuff how this attack actually went down. Some are saying it's one of the greatest modern warfare maneuvers. It's a modern day Trojan horse. We'll get into all these stories and more. It all starts right now on The Rush. Has anybody been to a movie lately? I mean, look, I love the movie theater, but it's absolutely ridiculous how they're trying to nickel and dime us. AMC to show even more ads in its theaters before the actual movie. So they've already got 20 minutes of ads before the movie. And look, you might say, hey, just don't go early. I understand, but I'm going to have kind of an old school take. Do you remember going to the movies and the only thing that played before the movie was like 5 trailers for upcoming movies? Do you remember those times? And then next thing you know, they add the no texting button, and then they create some fun little animatronic, dazzle where the popcorn and the fizzy soda all dance together. And the next thing you know, it's like Jeep ads. What are we doing? Ads are everywhere. And I know it's ironic. You're going to get ads on this YouTube or audio podcast, whatever you're listening to. So ads are inevitable. I literally have a new Wi-Fi thermostat for my house, so I can go on my phone if it's too cold. Or, your wife's always like, turn it down, turn it up. And when I go on it, it literally sends me an ad before I can click through to change the temperature in my house. What world do we live in? Right? And we already reported this story from Jeep. Do you remember this story? When you go to a stop sign, an ad pops up on the dashboard. Jeep's pop-up ads are driving people mad at every stoplight. I'm just saying, folks, what are we doing, right? And speaking of which, I just had to rejoin, Peacock, because I wanted to watch Love Island, and there were 2 versions I could sign up for. I could sign up for a premium account or an ultra premium account. That was it. No normal account. The premium account was, $8 a month, but then the ultra premium had no ads. Well, how come the ultra premium, why is the first one premium if there's no ads? Again, I don't know. I'm getting kind of grumpy about this ad deal. I pay $88 a month for my Hulu, and I still get ads on some of the videos. Either way, let's move it on from that gripe. Here, enjoy this next ad before we get to the next story. Fans are fuming over contestant dropping the N-word and vow to vote her off. So we just had the season premiere of Love Island USA. Did you catch it? And I guess it's going viral that a contestant has several podcast episodes out where she dropped multiple use of the N-word on 2 separate podcasts. Fans are furious and they want swift justice, vowing to vote her out the moment they get the chance following Tuesday's premiere. Now, I'm going to sound kind of dumb here because I'm new to Love Island, but it was requested that I cover it this year. But when do you start voting people out? I didn't know voting out was an option. But either way, so far, I don't know. Do you guys like anybody on the show? I'm watching it casually, as you do. You're scrolling your phone, you're watching the show, and then all of a sudden they're all sleeping in the same room together. And then there's this Scottish guy. I don't understand how it all works out. Could somebody please fill me in? Because I'd like to find a nice summer show. I don't know if this is it. I'll tell you what, though. You want to know something? If there's a Bigfoot show, I've seen it. I've seen every Bigfoot show. I've seen every show about gold, like gold rush, gold digging. I've seen all of them. I don't know what it is in my DNA. I love this stuff. Nat Geo's Mireya Mayer, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, says, we definitely will see Bigfoot in this lifetime, but this ain't it. So she spoke to TMZ about there was a new video that came out of a Bigfoot. Can you spot him right there? Dead ahead, or at least it was the idea that it was a bipedal, hairy, whatever the hell a Bigfoot is. She says that wasn't it. I personally want to believe in Bigfoot. I think the forests and they're vast open spaces, but the fact that we don't have real great footage of one, I don't know. Have a listen.
When you look a little bit closer, while you do see that there is this very large creature on two legs, which gets very exciting, you can also see that it starts to look more costumey, and the way that it moves is too human-like. It's definitely not a bear. It doesn't look like anything that should be out there. But unfortunately, with Bigfoot, you get a lot of pranksters, which makes it really hard for us scientists looking out for that irrefutable proof. But there's just something about it that is too human-like. At one point, it looked almost as if it was going to wave hello. Just its mannerisms, the way it crouched, the way it placed its hand. I suddenly felt like it was just going to start waving at us, and then it turns around. But the other part to that video that that made me question it was the terrain that it was in. You expect something like the world's greatest hide and seek player, right, to be in this very dense vegetation, staying very hidden. This was in some pretty open brush area. And the fact that it hung around for as long as it did, I mean, I've spent years and years working with gorillas out in the Congo, and yes, they are very curious animals, and very times they'll stop to observe you because they're curious, they're smart, they're so intelligent, like we are. And so you think, okay, is the animal like just being curious? But there was almost something too relaxed about the way that this creature just hung around before it decided to take off.
All right. So anyway, did you guys see the footage of this creature? Let's see if we can click on it. Here it is. This is the footage of the creature. I don't know. And again, I can't zoom in any further here, but could that be Bigfoot? It looks Bigfoot. I mean, maybe it looks like a guy wearing a hoodie. I don't know. I want to believe. Let me believe. All right, coming up next, from Bigfoot to Blake Lively, we've got it all. I'm sorry. I'm not no anthropologist, but that looks like Bigfoot to me. I'm calling it. We got Bigfoot on the Colorado River. All right, coming up next, we've got Blake Lively and Taylor Swift news. Has Taylor Swift ghosted Blake Lively? We got a lot to get into. Let's be real. No one likes calling their insurance provider to see if their medication is covered, especially not for GLP-1s like Ozempic or Wegovy. Ro's Insurance Checker lets you know if you're covered for GLP-1s for free. If you're eligible and want to see if you're covered, all you have to do is submit your insurance card and Ro will take care of the rest. No paperwork, no negotiating, no waiting on hold. Ro members have support throughout the process. You'll have access to your provider on demand for any questions. So join the over 350,000 people who've trusted Ro to check their coverage for free. Go to ro.co/rushhour for your free insurance check. That's ro.co/rushhour to see if your insurance covers GLP-1s for free. Go to ro.co/safety for black box warning and full safety information about GLP-1 medications. And now back to the show. Well, yesterday was a massive win for Justin Baldoni, and Deadline here with the article proves that Blake Lively's emotional distress claims are dead on arrival. Judge rules in win for Justin Baldoni. So following, I mean, listen, this is one of Blake Lively's major claims was as emotional distress. Now, she's made a lot of claims, but this was a big one, and she no longer wants to prove it. She doesn't want to have to share her medical history to prove it, and she claims it's just her streamlining the process, but this is a big deal. Now, in the battle of PR, because that's all we've got to go on right now is PR, we have an article that some are saying is planted by Blake Lively's side on People, where Taylor Swift and Blake Lively's friendship stands after Justin Baldoni drama dropped subpoena against singer, exclusive source. So Blake Lively filed the complaint against Justin Baldoni, alleging he harassed her on the set of their film It Ends With Us. Now here's what's interesting. They show this source. Swift and Lively aren't as close and haven't been spending as much time together as they did in the past. I mean, That's one way to put it. But if you look at this as like a relationship, you would think one side might be more desperate than the other. Of course, Blake Lively's side desperately hoping for people to stand up for her publicly. Now, she got that initially, Colleen Hoover, some of her cast members, Brandon Sklenar, but she has not received that from Taylor Swift, which really, some folks are saying, is like the smoking gun. The fact that Taylor Swift has not publicly supported her friend when she put together, I think, $150,000 or $200,000 to support Kesha when she was, in a harassment battle. Taylor Swift even countersued a guy who she accused of harassing her, all to win $1. She didn't do it for the money. She did it to help other victims. She has plenty of funds that help other victims, and yet she's unwilling to publicly speak about Blake Lively's story. I mean, I think that really tells us all we need to hear. But what is really interesting is what was reported yesterday by Daily Mail. Revealed Blake Lively's groveling texts, voicemails, and emails that Taylor Swift is ghosting. So on one end, you got this People article, which is trying to, polish up a turd there for Blake Lively's side. But how about this source? Even though Taylor has totally cut ties with her, Blake hasn't with Taylor, a source told the Daily Mail. She's been reaching out to her with texts, voicemails, and even emails begging to mend what they once had. Blake isn't giving up on trying to get her friendship with Taylor back on track. Taylor hasn't responded to any of Blake's pleas. She's ignored all of her groveling excuses. The missives explain there must be some misunderstanding on Taylor's part and that she'd never do anything to harm their 10 years of closeness and personal secrets. This comes after Swift has reportedly iced out her pal due to feeling betrayed and exploited by Blake Lively. Listen, I know this is a lot of PR going in both directions, but the more we don't hear from Taylor Swift publicly, the more we have to imagine she is donezo with Blake Lively. And why would she be done with Blake Lively if Blake Lively was the victim here? It just doesn't make sense. Much like it didn't make sense initially during the promotion of this film when no one was publicly supporting Justin Baldoni. You might remember everyone unfollowed him. They wouldn't see him at premieres. And there was kind of this moment where everyone believed, well, Justin Baldoni must be the bad guy. Everyone's supporting Blake Lively. What we know now about Blake is she's demanding, as it seems, demanding of these other actors and people in the industry to publicly be on her side, but she can't get that love from old Taylor Swift. Another very, very interesting thing going on in the Blake Lively world is we've got a new motion for leave of Child USA to file an amicus brief in support of defendant Blake Lively's motion to dismiss and urging the court to uphold the constitutionality of California Civil Code 47.1. So this is another one of those amicus brief, which, as we've described, as far as I can tell, is supposed to mean friend of the court, right? And this is Child USA, or excuse me, leave of Child USA. This is their attempt to pick sides and say, I guess, why they want, it's called Child USA, why they want Blake Lively's motion to be dismissed. They're an interdisciplinary nonprofit think tank dedicated to preventing child abuse and neglect and ensuring access to justice for survivors. So they're sort of jockeying onto the Blake Lively side, which we covered this yesterday, right? The idea that there's a lot of conflicts of interest from some of the legal representatives from Blake Lively's side that are also operating with pro bono work for some of these advocacy groups. So it would behoove the advocacy groups to then try to stand by Blake Lively. But in the end, how could you possibly want this case dismissed when you haven't yet determined that Blake is the victim here, right? So pretty wild stuff. We'll get more on that this afternoon because there will be a lot to share. And, look, I understand. We've had commentary from people. Some folks are following the every move of the Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni case. Some folks aren't. When it comes down to it, I understand the fatigue that exists here. It's kind of like a very long chess match. There's a lot of little things going on. Some of them mean a lot, some don't. Waiting for the judge to make motions with regard to the, like yesterday, the judge strikes down Blake Lively's attempt to, try to get certain things thrown out, right? Blake Lively wants to get rid of the emotional distress. The judge says, well, we're not going to get rid of it. If you bring it back, we're going to have to get the evidence, right? Big win here. And Baldoni's side is just, I think at this point they realize they have a lot of the momentum if this thing goes to trial. I don't understand how Blake Lively settles this one. I don't know if she's floated any ideas about how that even happens, but it's like they are both so deep in the quicksand. I don't see this ending any other way but a trial. All right, so coming up next, we're going to discuss Ukraine and this insane drone attack that happened a few days ago. They're calling it groundbreaking for warfare. Now, you guys know me. I don't want warfare at all. But if there's war, especially with Ukraine's side as they're defending themselves from the invasion from Russia, if they're able to defend themselves and prove through these calculated drone attacks that they don't have to kill any innocent lives, this is an incredible moment to show that it can be done. Have a listen.
This is groundbreaking, and I want to break down quickly why. Number one, what we see is over a year of deep intelligence and special forces infiltration. So while Ukraine might not have the size of the Russian army, phenomenal special forces. And they were able to position assets outside of at least 4 that we know of so far, major Russian air bases, and get this, hide drones in trucks carrying wooden sheds.
Now, this is what's crazy, right? We covered this yesterday as far as this being like little giants. Like Ukraine doesn't have the money, the manpower, the infrastructure to have one of those bulldozing type attacks that Russia has. I mean, Russia is basically sending its boys, because that's what they are. They're barely men. They're young boys into war. These sad Russian boys, and in some cases have no idea what they're even fighting for, right? And they're getting captured in Ukraine, and they're starved, and they're sad, and they just want to call their moms. And you have to remember, this is what's going on. No one wants to fight this other than Putin. Nobody feels like this is a war that should be taking place. And the rest of the world have kind of watched this go down. And again, we're watching Vladimir Zelensky, a hero, the president of Ukraine, finding ways to not only defend himself, but show Russia that they're not going anywhere, even if they have all the odds stacked against them. And everybody out there, everybody's saying Russia should have won this thing in 2 days. It's been several years now. And at what point does the world stop Russia? Now, here's what's scary, right? You have Ukraine with all of these kind of like, non-military grade drones fighting. Does this or something similar to one of these attacks cause Russia to try to justify their nukes? You hope not, but it's a very, very dangerous time out there.
So for all Russia knew, there's some drunk Russian guy driving his old truck around the base. Oh, Igor, there he goes again. And all of a sudden, the roof flies off and first-person view drones, and you see that footage, are targeting some of the most valuable military assets in the Russian arsenal, long-range strategic bombers. Initial reports suggest at least 40 damaged or destroyed.
And some of these bombers are saying they can't even rebuild. So here we have what President Zelensky had to say after their Operation Spiderweb.
Europe, together with America, has better weapons than Russia. We also have stronger tactical solutions. Our Operation Spiderweb yesterday proved that Russia must feel what its losses mean. That is what will push it toward diplomacy. And when Russia takes losses in this war, it's obvious to everyone that Ukraine is the one holding the line, not just for itself, but for all of Europe. We must do everything to make sure diplomacy is not empty.
By the way, this war has lasted so long that Zelensky actually speaks English now. When this war started, he barely spoke any English, but he's obviously been aware that in order to try to communicate to the world what they need, the help that they need, he's actually improved here.
Our delegation is now in Istanbul, and we are ready to take the necessary steps for peace. Naturally, the starting point should be a ceasefire and humanitarian actions, the release of prisoners, and the return of abducted children.
Yeah, and that goes, that's something we don't even talk much about, but the children that were abducted, the prisoners that were taken at the start of this war, absolutely senseless.
Called a big, beautiful bill, but
all right, we're going to move on now. Sorry for that, kind of jumped ahead here. Caitlin Collins actually has been covering Elon Musk, and Elon Musk has broken from the sort of lockstep unity he had with President Trump, openly criticizing the big, beautiful bill. Have a listen to this.
White House officials were not expecting Elon Musk to come out swinging against President Trump's so-called big, beautiful bill, but he made his criticism quite public on Tuesday, actually in the middle of the White House press briefing when he came out and called it a disgusting abomination, called it massive, and said it was filled with pork.
So there he says, "I'm sorry, but I just can't stand it anymore. This massive, outrageous, pork-filled congressional spending bill is a disgusting abomination. Shame on those who voted for it. You know you did wrong. You know it." And look, hey, a broken clock's right twice a day. Elon is right here. This bill was going to add trillions to the debt. It strips away so many, social programs that help poor people with health insurance and elderly and things like that, food stamp programs. I mean, they would have to cut all these things just to afford tax cuts for the ultra wealthy.
Now, Republican senators might not have put it quite like that, but some of them have also expressed concerns with estimates that say that this bill, if passed as it is today, as it came to the Senate from the House, would add trillions of dollars to the federal deficit. The White House says those estimates and those Republican senators who have voiced concerns about that are blatantly wrong. Republicans like Ron Johnson and Rand Paul disagree. They are saying that it will add to the deficit. That is their concern. Is the White House's position that those two Republican senators are, quote, blatantly wrong?
It is. Those senators, it's not news that they disagree with this president on policy, and the president has vocally called them out for it and for their not having their facts together.
I mean, remember the time when Republicans wanted to balance the budget, smaller government, things like that? They only want to balance the budget. They only want smaller government when they're not the ones in office. I mean, clearly.
Okay.
Here we have Mike Johnson and what he has to say in response to Elon trashing everybody for this ridiculous bill.
What do you say to Elon Musk, who just called your bill a disgusting abomination?
Yeah, let me say this. It's very disappointing. Okay, I've come to consider Elon a good friend. He's obviously a very intelligent person, and he's done a lot of great work. We've applauded all the work they've done with Doge and identifying fraud, waste, and abuse in the government. It's a very important service that's been performed, and we're so excited about it. We're now in the process of codifying that. As you all know, the administration has qualified and quantified the fraud, waste, and abuse that they found in Doge. They're sending it to us to codify, and that's what we'll be doing with the rescissions package and the appropriations process. And so that's something we're very excited about. But with all due respect, my friend Elon is terribly wrong about the one big beautiful bill. We had a long conversation yesterday. He and I spoke for, I think, more than 20 minutes on the telephone, and I extolled all the virtues of the bill. And he seemed to understand that. We had a very friendly conversation about it, and
Okay, so they say there's all these virtues of the bill. Rich people will pay less in taxes, poor people will pay more in taxes, and all of the sort of social programs that help out the lower middle class are starting to go away. Yeah, sounds like a great bill to me. Will you be voting for it in the audience? Have we been brainwashed to think this is a good idea? I mean, nobody's going to vote Republican ever again if this bill goes through. Do people realize that? You might be a Republican out there. God bless you. Everyone can vote for whoever they want to, right? Do you understand that this bill, if it goes through, will mean that nobody votes for another Republican for a decade or more? Because it's completely against everything they think or say they stand for. So the hypocrisy is pretty wild out there. All right, that's it for us. My hot takes. We'll see you this afternoon. Until then, I'm Dave. This is The Rush.